Okay, let's get into it and introduce the lovely people who will be speaking to you today. I am Rob Zaleski. I've been creating content and developing brand for Shipping Easy for nearly 4 years. I spent the past decade helping small businesses grow through e-commerce, social media, marketing, and strategy. I'm originally from Northeast Ohio, so I'm thus a lifelong suffering Cleveland Browns fan. And I've called Austin home since 2012, and I'm probably never leaving. Ethan Giffen is the founder and CEO of Groove Commerce, a full-service e-commerce agency. Ethan is an industry expert in e-commerce, inbound marketing, and dynamic technologies that power client success. An entrepreneur at heart, Ethan started his first business at 10 years old and has grown to become a three-time Inc. 5000 honoree and an EY Entrepreneur of the Year finalist. And Kathy Strini is the partner marketing manager at noissue. She's thrilled to be merging her passions for sustainability and collaboration through managing noissue's partnership programs. When she's not supporting small businesses and their switch to sustainable packaging, she spends much of her time in the ocean or road tripping around the West Coast. Now, I'm going to kick it over to Ethan in just a second, but first, let's look at a couple of stats that show just how important e-commerce is going to be this holiday season. Now, despite economic uncertainty, nearly 7 out of 10 Americans say they plan to spend just as much for the holidays this year as in previous years, and most of that spending is going to be online. 87% of Americans say that they'll do more of their holiday shopping online this year due to COVID. Now, while that may not be altogether surprising, that is still a really high number. 63% of those people say that they plan to do all of their shopping online. Now think about anybody that is, even remotely high risk. They're not going to want to go fight crowds or stand in lines when they could just shop at home in their pajamas. And 78% of Americans say they plan to start their holiday shopping earlier this year due to concerns about COVID delivery delays. And 22% have already started their shopping in September. So we've got to get on this, and we've got to get on this quick. 14%, experts are expecting a 14% drop in brick and mortar sales due to social distancing measures. Even big box stores are planning to close on Thanksgiving and possibly even Black Friday to avoid crowds. E-commerce, however, is still poised to grow 18%. And Amazon has yet to announce and confirm whether Prime Day will even happen this fall, but that's still something else to consider even for non-Amazon sellers. So these predictions are a pretty clear indication that e-commerce will undoubtedly reign supreme this holiday season, but we're here to help you with that. And with that, I will kick it over to Ethan from Groove Commerce to kick us off.
There we are. All right. Awesome. 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 Well, excited to be here today with you. And I'm just sorry that you're a lifelong Browns fan. Being a Ravens fan and a diehard Ravens fan, I know your pain. So
I suppose we should have talked about this earlier.
we definitely talked about this earlier. So yeah, so excited to kind of share just some high level notes about an e-commerce success story for a women's fashion brand, Sara Campbell. Awesome folks, and about their journey into the e-commerce space. So I think with all the stats that you mentioned, there is a tremendous amount of opportunity to really move online and get things, really kind of try to push as much of that to e-commerce as possible. We're seeing across all of our client space, almost every client that has continued to maintain a supply chain has increased sales, and sometimes like 2 and 3x and 4x of what their normal business offerings are. So if we could go to the next slide, I'd be happy to dive right in. So they are a 25 store women's apparel brand based in Boston, Mass. I would say kind of higher end clothing, oftentimes found in kind of vacation or kind of more kind of shopping based locations, forced to close all of their stores due to COVID-19. They had no e-commerce presence. While they did some shipping here and there, if you would call into a store looking for a specific size, they didn't really have an online e-commerce presence. And so we're nervous about that. And people in the apparel side of things, with returns and other aspects, can be kind of nervous at times about that. So we were able to really work with them, and because their point of sale was Springboard Retail, we were able to jump into action and very quickly um, get moving, with a website for them. They had reached out to us at the end of 2019 and engaged with Groove to build them a fully featured brand based e-commerce website that really highlighted all of their products and we had kind of planned to roll that out with the launch of the fall with their fall apparel. And so they contacted us and said, "Hey, we've got to put this project on hold because all of our stores closed, and we're kind of not able to do anything, as a business." I think on our next slide, we kind of talk a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit more just about how we collaborated with them, and I could just feel the pain in their voices of being shut down, and we were able to put together a very very quick concept to launch an online pop-up shop in just 14 days using BigCommerce along with the integration of Springboard Retail. It was wild to see. I think they were just amazed because they had their kind of warehouse photos of the products to identify them in Springboard, and as the catalog started to shift over, they could see it come to life and very quickly started to update descriptions and products to be more customer facing. They started with a limited number of products and every week have just been rapidly adding more and more and more. And now they're shipping out of multiple store locations with their inventory kind of being pumped into Springboard Retail, which makes it very very easy for them. And I know that we're very very close to launching their primary brand site and removing the pop up shop. But it was a great overall success story for them, and I think that they've been able to do basically what their 12-month e-commerce goal was in about 60 days. So it's really helped to get people back to work and get them kind of moving along. Now, their stores have been slowly opening back up in states that have allowed it, but they're still just not operating at full blast yet, and that is a challenge. We know that I was in a mall on over the holiday weekend on Sunday, and it was virtually dead in the mall, and that's just dangerous overall. So, really kind of prepping to. I think this holiday season is going to be. While I appreciate that 14% number, I just think in some industries it's going to be much much higher of 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 what to expect. So. Um, they are on their way, and we think that they're going to be a long-term e-commerce success story. So yeah, and I would also just encourage everybody to shop local as much as possible. So just a quick quote from Sara. And this is the pop-up store. It was very simple. We basically added their fonts and some basic images to the website and did just enough to get it up and start to accept transactions. So, quote from Sarah herself: "The Groove partnership has kept us afloat. We've already passed our 2-month sales goals. It was the saving grace that we needed, and we felt very strongly that we needed to jump in and help a company at an extreme time of need, and very proud of the work that we've done with them so far."
I think that's really interesting, Ethan, that it doesn't necessarily have to be that initial transition doesn't have to be all in or nothing. Like there are ways to kind of test the waters out and get a feel for that before you have to say, okay, I'm going, all in on e-commerce. So I think that's a great example.
Yeah, I mean, and that was part of the concept. As a fashion brand, there's an expectation of creating a pixel perfect website, and one of the aspects that we've seen a lot of different innovation with even smaller businesses that didn't know they had capabilities. So we've seen everything from ice cream shops that have set up online stores for delivery to all different types of things, ways people are flexing their businesses to buy online, pick up in store, curbside. All different types of businesses are taking risks and out of necessity to try new things. And this is a great example of not overthinking it and really just making it happen.
Yeah, I've even seen some local Austin restaurants selling, access to some of their most popular recipes, so people can try to recreate some of their favorite dishes at home as a way of still bringing in like an e-commerce style of revenue stream that they would have never even considered in the past.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And the same thing. One of our favorite, my wife and I's favorite restaurants here in Baltimore, said it's an Italian restaurant, and they set up a mercado, a market, and basically they were selling the raw ingredients, the sauce, the cheese, all of the quality of the things that you're getting in the restaurant, and um, you know, you're able to create a full meal to buy and make yourself. And like from their standpoint, the owner has actually just been overwhelmed with emotion that he was able to start selling again in a restaurant that's going to have a challenging time, but he was able to start selling product, and then just the feeling of all of his ongoing customers being able to recreate those meals and post them in their Instagram stories and other things. It's been very, very cool to kind of see that type of evolution.
Yeah, I love the embracing of social as well. That's going to be, I think, important to a lot of companies who are trying to make the digital transformation, is encouraging that social sharing and that word of mouth and that social proof that really gets it in front of the eyes of their friends and family and encourage them to also make those type of purchases.
100%, 100% awesome.
Okay, well, that was a fun part, but now we're going to move on to shipping. So let's get something out of the way right off the top. Setting up a brand shiny new online store is pretty exciting. Seeing orders start rolling in online, that's fantastic. Getting positive feedback from customers is amazing. Picking, packing, and shipping your packages is pretty boring. Our CEO, Katie May, famously referred to shipping as the ass end of e-commerce. It's there, we all have to deal with it, but nobody really likes to. And yes, we did have t-shirts made of that. But just because it's boring doesn't mean it has to be a drag on your day. So let's go over a couple of ways that you can keep it from becoming such a drag. One of the first things is automation. Now, there's far too much awesome technology out there for you to be manually shipping everything. And the thing about shipping, and one thing that makes it so boring, frankly, is that it's largely a repeatable process. An item weighs this much, you put it in this package, you print a label, and it's on its way. Now, shipping automation is based on if-then rules that make your life 100% easier. These if-then statements are then coupled with what are called shipping presets, which are a combination of package, carrier, and service selections grouped into one. So if you have a small or light product that you're constantly using first-class package service for, and you're putting it in a, say, 7x4x2 box, you can save that as a preset, and then you won't need to enter those items separately every time you ship that item. Now, you can even have the preset take into account how much your packaging weighs if you use custom packaging, so you know it'll be 100% accurate. So let's kind of look at an example of how this works. So let's say you're a reseller of cell phone cases, and you know it weighs approximately 1.9 ounces. And then you ship those in a padded envelope, which maybe adds another ounce. So they'll always be under a pound unless someone orders like 11 of them. Now, since the package is under 1 pound, you can use USPS first class package service, which is the cheapest method for anything so lightweight. And you can create a preset that matches up the carrier, USPS, the service, first class package service, and the packaging, a padded envelope. So it becomes as easy as a single click selection in your shipping presets. And then now that you have that preset, you can build that into an automated rule. If the package weighs less than 15.999 ounces, then automatically apply first class package service. And you could even associate rules with specific SKUs that have product weights in your product catalog to remove any need to have to continually weigh those packages every time you ship them. So it saves you multiple steps in your day, which add up to hours in your day, which is one of the things that our customers absolutely rave about, is just the sheer number of hours they spend doing other things other than shipping. Let's look at another example. So we found that many times our discounted US or our discounted UPS rates can be cheaper than priority mail for heavier packages that are traveling further away. So in this example, you could set up a rule that when a package weighs more than, say, 4 pounds and is going to zones that aren't local, You choose UPS ground and also tag it with a category tag of brown so that we know at a glance that it's going UPS. Now, category tags are something that we really encourage customers to use because especially if you ship multiple carriers, it can let you group your labels by carrier to process them separately and keep your packages organized for pickups and drop-offs later. And then that way you avoid that really weird, awkward moment when you're trying to hand your USPS carrier or UPS label box. It never goes well, never goes well. Now, not only does automation save you time, it also removes human error from manually entering information, which can cost your business both hours and dollars. Automation can also be used to easily populate rate quotes so that you can kind of get a quick view of how much your packages will cost you to ship. And we'll talk more about rate quotes in a second and why that's important. Now, one cool thing that's specific to Shipping Easy is that the more you use it, the more it learns about your shipping habits. We actually use machine learning that remembers previous orders. So the last time you shipped this combination of items, here's how you shipped it previously, and the platform recommends the same setting. And then the more you use the platform, the more it will tailor to you. Another example is this helps that even if you don't have your product weights set up in your store, by using a platform like Shipping Easy, we will be populating that product catalog info as you enter information and then remember it for your next shipment. So you don't even have to worry about updating that information in your store. We keep it there for you. Now, batch printing is probably one of the favorite things of many of our customers and many people who use shipping software. It's a major time saver for merchants. With batch printing, you simply select all labels you want to process, you purchase them in bulk, and then you watch your printer go to work. You don't even necessarily have to have all the packages using the same carrier or service. As long as there is a rate quote, you can print all those labels at once. And that's, again, why getting that rate quote populated is super important. You can specify if you want to print them in order on the page or in numerical order by order number. You can even use that category that I was talking about to print all of the same carrier and keep your packages organized and prioritized for when you're processing the shipments. Plus, I mean, just look how much fun these people are having with their seemingly endless number of labels. I mean, don't you want to have that kind of fun? Batch printing will get you there. Now, before we move away from shipping, I do want to list out a few hashtag shipping tips that you can use to make your life exponentially easier. Basically, if you forget everything else that I've told you so far, make sure you keep some of these tips in mind. If you haven't already, or if you're shipping from a new or different space, carve out a staging area and a processing area. This will remove and avoid clutter and confusion when you're processing orders and help you make sure that you don't miss any packages for pickup or drop off. And speaking of which, I really, really recommend scheduling pickups so you don't have to spend time waiting in line. I mean, this is obviously particularly important with the pandemic situation, but also there's just going to be an increase of people who are going to be in line shipping things this season, even if it's just to family members. And if you ship USPS, we always recommend creating what's called a scan form. And basically what that does is it takes all of your USPS labels and puts them into a single barcode so that when your carrier comes to do your pickup, they just scan that one barcode and then you become their best friend ever. So definitely recommend that for any of your USPS shipments. And also think about the things that you hate about shipping and find ways to automate them. You know, it's always amazing when we talk to customers on the phone and they're like, oh man, this I hate doing this every single day. And then when we tell them, well, you don't have to. You know, let's set up a rule. Let's get that off your plate. And that is where you really start to see the maximum efficiency in your day-to-day shipping. So, you know, whatever it is that you just abhor doing every day, there's probably a way you can automate that and take it off your plate. Another thing you can do is order free supplies from the carriers. Now, I'd say this with the caveat of this is only possible if branding isn't important to you, and we'll talk more about the vast importance of branding in a little bit. But you know, if you're just really trying to cut costs and you use specific USPS services or flat rate services, you can actually order those from the carriers directly, and they will bring them to your door, and then you have what you need to ship. So it's a cost-effective way to do it, but you do lose branding because you're just using generic carrier boxes. And also consider multi-channel shipping or multi-channel selling, and be careful of relying on rented land. You know, selling on marketplaces like Amazon, Etsy, eBay, Bonanza, and others, they can really open up your visibility. But just remember that you're at the mercy of those marketplaces. So you should always have your own website or store to fall back on. I mean, you can just look at what happened when the pandemic really struck the United States, and Amazon sellers who use FBA kind of had no leg to stand on when Amazon pivoted. to just carry household products in their warehouses to keep up with the massive demand and influx of orders. And so, if you have a website of your own that you can fall back on, you at least have that as a crutch. And then you just have to start fulfilling your own orders, with your own inventory. But always have your own place to live. And that's one nice thing about Shipping Easy is that when you sell in multiple places, all of your orders do come into one spot. So you don't have to go to those different platforms. You have everything in one place and you can manage all your orders in one place. So it's super convenient. And then finally, utilize multiple carriers. When you tie yourself to a single carrier, you limit your options to comparison shop and save. That's why, like when you sign up for Shipping Easy, we actually give you a USPS and a UPS account with discounted rates so that you can start comparing and getting the most out of your labels right off the bat. Now, enough about shipping. One other thing that we should definitely talk about for e-commerce is the importance of customer data. Now, one place that e-commerce dominates in-person shopping is the amount of data that you have available to you about your customers, their habits, their preferences, their history, their location. It's crucial to put that data to work to turn first-time customers into first-time or casual customers into repeat customers, and turn repeat customers into advocates. And when you put your customer data to work, you can create personalized experiences that make customers actually feel like you're talking directly to them. It just goes way past the hello first name. So let's talk about a few types of campaigns that you should definitely have ready to go for the holiday season, as well as a couple other ones that we're actually seeing a lot of great success with here at Shipping Easy. So these email campaigns kind of fall into three different buckets. One is building relationships, one is increasing sales, and then one is kind of like a nice to have type of thing. So for building relationships, you should always have an order confirmation. It gives your customers the peace of mind that you've actually received their order and that you're working on it. And it's kind of a first introduction of your brand to their inbox. We also recommend first-time buyer campaigns. When somebody finally discovers you and decides to trust you to make a purchase, you really want to thank them for that experience and welcome them to who your brand is, what makes you unique, possibly even offer up a coupon to get them to return for a second visit. That's how you kind of start building that repeat business. So we definitely recommend first-time buyer campaigns. And then also feedback requests. For those of you especially who are dipping your toes into e-commerce, getting reviews is absolutely crucial. Online customers read reviews, they put stock in them and they trust them. So you need to be soliciting your customers from wherever you sell, whether that's a marketplace or your own site, to be providing that feedback. So when somebody is viewing that product, they are seeing what other people are saying about it. And the next bucket is increasing sales. One of my favorites is the automated offers. These campaigns are powerful because they're based on trigger events. So things like somebody's birthday or somebody's anniversary of their first purchase. These ones are actually more effective because they kind of stand out more than a simple promotional email because they have more relevance. They have kind of like a reason to exist in that inbox. And so those ones we see a lot of success with for our customers. And then buy it again reminders. These ones are super crucial to people who have products that are finite. So things like supplements, coffee, vape supplies, even handmade items like soap or edible products. You should be using buy it again reminders. The timing of these will obviously depend on your product life cycle. So it's going to be requiring you to kind of use your product knowledge. But if these arrive at the right time when your customer is starting to run low on products, it's going to keep them from potentially going and shopping with a competitor or just letting it run out altogether and not buying again. And if you hit it at the right moment, they're like, oh yeah, I am almost out of that. And it brings them back to create another order. And then win back campaigns, look, not everybody's going to come back. And there are ways to try to encourage them to come back, oftentimes with some sort of special discount, kind of put in the subject line some sort of compelling, hey, we miss you, here's a reason to come back. Hey, we miss you, here's a special discount just for you. Something like that we usually recommend about 90 to 120 days after their last purchase. But again, that will depend on kind of your product life cycle. But those we find are very compelling to get customers to come back who've kind of gone stagnant. And then a final couple other ones here for honorable mention. Product recommendations are really great in e-commerce. They could be based on something specific that someone purchased, or these can be more global recommendations of like, hey, here's the top products our customers love and we think you will too. But either way, it kind of gives that social proof or that relevancy to make that next purchase. And we find a lot of success in those as well. And new signups and subscribers, you should probably, if you have your website, you should have some sort of form to try to collect email addresses. It's a great way to build up an audience to talk to. But when they do fill out that form, there should be some sort of follow-up. There should be something to let them know that you got their email and introducing them to your brand, telling them what's unique, maybe showcasing a couple of products, and maybe even offering a coupon for signing up for your email list. But these are crucial to make sure that they don't think that their email just went out into the ether and nothing happened. So definitely recommend new signups and subscriber emails. Now, specific to the shipping process, there are a couple of ways that you can brand the shipping experience, and Kathy's going to talk a little bit more about that here in just a minute. So order and shipping confirmation emails are a must-have in e-commerce. You got to let people know what the progress of their order is. But we also recommend taking advantage of what's called branded tracking pages. This year in particular, there's going to be a lot of potential delays, and people are going to be asking, "Where's my package?" And so automatically sending them their tracking number in an email is only the first step. Why would you send them to a carrier site when you can send them to one that resembles your brand and has your website links and encourages them to connect with you on social? It makes it feel like a much more cohesive brand experience, and there's no external ads to distract them, and it reinforces your brand to their customer journey. So there's just a few things to think about, particularly for those of you who are dipping your toes into e-commerce for the first time and trying to kind of figure out how to hang on to the customers that you may see this year, post-holiday, when ideally COVID kind of dies back down and we can get people back in stores. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Kathy to talk to you about the shipping experience and doing it in an environmentally friendly way.
Excellent, excellent. Well, as you said it, shipping might be the boring ass end of commerce for the business, but the delivery should be the exciting unicorn end for the consumer. So yeah, happy and excited to chat a little bit more about the experience of shipping. Head to the next slide. So I came across this statistic a few years ago, and it has stuck with me that a business can be doing things right and satisfying their customers, but not wowing them enough to generate loyalty, i.e. another purchase. So don't satisfy, stand out. This is something we talk a lot about internally at noissue. Jonathan Ive from Apple says it well. You design a ritual of unpacking to make a product feel special. Packaging can be theater, it can create a story. So being a successful brand is no longer just about the products you sell or how timely you can deliver them, but how you can stand out, give customers a point of difference, their brand identity, and a memorable experience. E-commerce businesses have few physical touch points with their audience compared to their brick and mortar counterparts. So it's vital that as an online brand, you take every opportunity to build a personal connection with your customers. The biggest touch point in e-commerce, when the order finally arrives at the customer's doorstep. This makes the unpacking period, or the unboxing experience, critical to your customer retention efforts. Because while the online space is crowded with many businesses competing for people's attention, the unboxing moment is unique in the sense that it's a one-on-one, in-person experience with a captive audience. When done well, an unboxing experience is a marketing tool that can showcase the story of your brand effectively, leading to greater customer love and loyalty. So the two elements of the unboxing experience that we'll take a closer look at today, making it on brand and making it sustainable. So in this day and age, taking an Amazon-like approach to online retail makes your brand more easily forgettable. Unboxing is all about continuing the brand experience, and it's simple to do with great packaging. Think about it. It's not just about what's inside the box or mailer, it's also what's on the outside that tells the customer this is the package you've been waiting for. According to the .com distribution packaging report, 40% of consumers will share photos and videos of a purchase online if it came in a premium package. So take the time to craft a branded packaging experience that reflects your identity, sets your brand apart. Because after all, a satisfied, excited customer is your most valued brand champion. On the next slide, the great news is that any business, big or small, can create a branded unboxing strategy through thoughtful design. Here are a couple tips to help uniquely brand your packaging. Channel your brand's aesthetic for cohesive style. Make sure the colors, images, logos, etc. are translating over from the rest of your brand experience, i.e. what's happening on your website, email campaigns, social. Also, make use of repeating designs and patterns. This is a guaranteed way to catch eyes and encourage social sharing. And start simple. Just pick 1 or 2 packaging elements to brand. Emily Ferris, in the image seen on screen, does all the above beautifully. Note that she's using minimal elements, tissue, a sticker, and a card, but how unique they each are and how well they represent her brand. So now let's take a look at the sustainability piece of the puzzle. The good news is that beautifully branded packaging does not have to come at the expense of the earth, which is great because consumers are looking for and willing to pay more to support brands who reflect their own eco-awareness. And according to Forbes, 43% of consumers say that brands are making it harder, not easier, to be conscious consumers. Similarly, .com distribution highlights that 62% of consumers are more likely to purchase from brands using eco-friendly packaging strategies. Consumers want to make responsible, sustainable decisions. It's our responsibility as businesses to give them that option. So let's take a look at a few simple, actionable steps to greenify your packaging. Less is more. As a first step, take a look at your current packaging experience, identify the necessary elements, and cut out any unnecessary excess. Next, take those identified necessary elements and commit to using materials that check one, or preferably more, of the following boxes: recycled, compostable, recyclable, or reusable. But don't get overwhelmed. Focus on transitioning one element of your packaging at a time. And once you've done the first 2 steps, you'll know and you can feel good about your packaging being sustainable. But your customers don't and won't know unless you actually take the time to tell them about it. Make sure you're educating your consumers and your community on the materials used and highlight what to do at the point of disposal to ensure that the products are going into the proper waste streams or entering a second phase of life if they are reusable. Here, Garg & Go is employing the use of compostable mailers that are clearly labeled as such, as well as Forest Stewardship Council certified tissue paper and stickers, showcasing a great use of sustainable elements without sacrificing branding. So now maybe you're feeling convinced to transform your unboxing experience before we head in, or as we head into the holiday season. It's already upon us. So a couple quick, easy steps to help get you going. First, get clear on what you want to communicate and accomplish through your packaging strategy. How do you want to represent your brand, and what level of sustainability do you want to achieve? Next, decide on the packaging and design elements that will help you achieve these goals. For example, does FSC certified tape with your brand's logo on a recyclable box do the trick? Or is a compostable branded mailer with branded tissue, both reusable, what you're after? The last step, choose the right partners to bring your packaging experience to life. A few questions to ask while you're on the hunt. Do their MRQ abilities align with your needs? What level of customization do they offer? What are their sustainable solutions and offerings? Be sure to ask about certifications. And of course, what does the price and delivery timeline look like? On our last screen, to kind of wrap it up with a takeaway, e-commerce businesses have few physical touch points with their audience. So make sure that your packaging is on brand and sustainable to stand out, not just satisfy. That wraps up my piece of the presentation. Thanks so much, Rob, for being the slide manager throughout that.
I'd say you wrap that up like some nice recyclable tissue paper.
Exactly, yeah, showcasing a no-issue client who's done a great job of keeping it sustainable, but really putting their brand on the forefront as well. So pay-per-view does it very well.
Yeah, I really like one of the elements that you talked about is like communicating this to your customers and make sure that they know that you are actually doing these types of initiatives. And I feel like you could build this into some of your shipping confirmation emails, and hey, the package is on its way in the recyclable box or the compostable tissue paper.
Yeah, it's all about, because a lot of people or brands or things forget that piece of the puzzle, that you can be providing and using the right materials, but if the recipient doesn't know what to do with them or the proper way to dispose or recycle or compost them, then what you're doing isn't having the desired effect at all. So yeah, it can certainly be used in communication with your community and your customers and really excite them about what they're receiving, especially as we kind of touched on that more and more people are taking sustainability efforts and yeah, working to be conscious consumers. So it's empowering for them as well.
Yes, I love that. Well, hey guys, we actually went quite a bit over. I take part of the responsibility for that, for kind of goofing up at the beginning there. So please go ahead and take a few minutes to write any questions that you have in the Q&A box. Since I respect you guys' time, I want to get you guys out of here, but we will absolutely follow up via email because we do get your email address through GoToWebinar. So we'll be able to follow up with you and answer any questions. So thank you very much, Ethan and Kathy, for joining us and sharing some of your expertise. I hope everybody feels more prepared and a bit more of a understanding of what's coming here in the next few months. And we wish everyone a very successful holiday season into 2021. So thank you for joining us and have a great day.